Hello and welcome to the first 1,000 more animal facts for 10 minutes. Okay, here's the first page. So the camera might look a little weird because I can't actually read it like this, but I can read it without looking at the camera, okay? Okay, probably can't. I'll just show you the picture. There, prehistoric life. Fact 1. The Earth was once covered by huge sheets of ice. This happened several times during the Earth's history. We call these frozen times ice ages. However, the ice ages are a tiny part of prehistory. Before then, the world was warm and lakes and seas covered the land. Even earlier than that, than this, there was little rain for thousands of years and the land was covered in deserts. Over millions of years, weather conditions changed. Living things changed too in order to survive. This change is called evolution. Okay, so look at the picture. This is a Megalosaurus. These over here are arches. This is obviously a woolly mammoth, and this is a woolly mammoth, woolly rhinoceros, and a cave lion. These are all animals that probably died. Okay, I already read this before you guys joined in, so yeah. Life begins. Fact 2. Life began a very, very long time ago. We know this from the remains of prehistoric life forms that died and were buried. Over millions of years, the remains turned into shapes in rocks called fossils. The first fossils are over 3,000 million years old. They are tiny blobs called bacteria, living things that still survive today. Fact 3. The first plants were seaweeds, which appeared about 1,000 million years ago. Unlike bacteria and blue-green algae, each with just one living cell, these plants had thousands of cells. Some seaweeds were many feet long. They were called algae, the same name that scientists use today. Fact 4. By about 800 million years ago, some plants were starting to grow on land. They were mixed with other living things called molds or fungi. Together, the algae and fungi form flat green and yellow crusts that creep over rocks and soaked up rain. They were called lichens. These still grow on rocks and trees today. Fact 5. The first animals lived in the sea, and they were as soft as jelly. Over 600 million years ago, some of the first animals were jellyfish. On the seabed lived groups of soft, feathery-looking creatures called Charnia. This animal was an early type of coral. Animals need to take in food by eating other living things. Charnia caught tiny plants in its feathers. Fact 6. One of the first hunting animals was Anomalocaris. It lived 520 million years ago, swimming through the sea in search of prey. It caught smaller creatures in its pincers, then pushed them into its mouth. Anomalocaris was a cousin of crabs and insects. It was one of the biggest hunting animals of its time, even though it was only 23 inches long. Fact 7. By 400 million years ago, plants on land were growing taller. They had stiff stems that held them upright and carried water to their topmost parts. An early upright plant was Cooksonia. It was the tallest living thing on land, yet it was only 2 inches high, hardly the size of your thumb. It's small. Animals swarm the seas. Fact 8. Some of the first common animals were worms. However, they were not earthworms in soil. At the time, there was no soil and the land was bare. These worms lived in the sea. They burrowed in mud for plants and animals to eat. Fact 9. The next animals to become common were trilobites. They first lived about 550 million years ago in the sea. Trilobites crawled along the seabed eating tiny bits of food they found. Their name means free lobes. A trilobite has 2 grooves along its back from head to tail, so its body had 3 main parts, left, middle, and center. Fact 10. Trilobites were some of the first animals with legs that bent at the joints. Animals with jointed legs are called arthropods. Creatures for They had been the most common creatures for millions of years, including trilobites long ago, and later on crabs, spiders, and insects. Like other arthropods, trilobites had a tough outer shell for protection. Fact 11. Some of the first hunters were sea scorpions. Some were as big as lions. Pterygotus was 7 feet long. It swished its tail to chase prey through water, which it tore apart with its huge claws. Sea scorpions lived 500 to 250 million years ago. Unlike modern scorpions, they had no sting on their tail. Fact 12. For millions of years, the seabed was covered with the curly shells of ammonites. Some of these shells were as small as your fingernail, others were bigger than dinner plates. Ammonites were successful creatures and thousands of kinds survived for millions of years. Each ammonite had big eyes to see prey and long tentacles to catch it with. Ammonites died out at the same time as the dinosaurs, around 65 million years ago. Fact 13. Among the warren trilobites and ammonites was a small creature that had a very special body part, the beginnings of a backbone. It was called Picay and lived about 530 million years ago. Gradually, more animals with backbones called vertebrates evolved from it. Today, vertebrates rule much of the world. They are fish, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Very fishy. Fact 14. The first fish could not bite. They were suckers. About 500 million years ago, new animals appeared in the sea, the first fish. They had no jaws or teeth and probably sucked in worms and small pieces of food from the mud. Fact 15. Some early fish wore suits of armor. They had hard, curved plates of bone all over their bodies for protection. These fish were called placoderms, and most were fierce hunters. Some had huge jaws with sharp sheets of bone for slicing up prey. Fact 16. Spiny sharks had spines, but they were not really sharks. These fish were similar in shape to today's sharks, but they lived in rivers and lakes, not the sea, about 430 million years ago. Climatius was a spiny shark that looked fierce, but it was only as big as your finger. Fact 17. The first really big hunting fish was bigger than today's great white shark. Dunkleosteus grew to almost 33 feet long and swam in the oceans for 360 million years ago. It sliced up prey such as other fish using its massive teeth and narrow blades of bone, each one as big as this book. Okay, that's a page. That's a page. Fact 18, probably the last fact. Some early fish started to walk out of water. Types of fish called lobefins appeared 390 million years ago. Their side fins each had a stump at the base made of muscle. If the water in their pool dried up, lobe fins would use their fins like stubby legs to waddle over land to another pool. A sphenopteron was a lobe-fin fish about 3 feet long. Over millions of years, some lobe fins evolved into 4-legged animals. Thank you for watching 1,000 more animal facts for 10 minutes. Please subscribe and like. This is Kirby and Kirby.